All right, there we go.
Who you gonna call when your traffic's not coming? Who you gonna call when the audience don't know how to find you? Who you gonna call? You're gonna call John Limbucker.
All right, leave it to Gregory. He's just knocking it out of the park there. Very cool. Sorry, I was like a minute late here. I'm getting ready to do a webinar this afternoon, and I was just all caught up in my presentation. So all my notes and good stuff. I think this might be this is going to be a really good webinar. We got a lot of people signed up for it, and I think we're gonna kick butt today. So,
what webinar is that, John?
It's a webinar on SitePop. It's for Joe Troyer's group. So he's doing the promo. Todd set it all up. He's my one of my JV guys. And if you don't have somebody like for me, I'm not a guy that like runs around and talks myself up and talks to people and, does all that stuff. I'm very non-self-promoting. So in that case, I've got somebody like Todd Spears. Todd is he's just like me. He's been involved in the SEO, but he's a promoter. And I offered to him like a couple of years back, I said, hey, Todd, if you want to promote me, I'll set you up as a JV broker and you can take a cut. He got all excited about that. He put together a webinar and we did like 52,000 in sales off the first webinar he set up for me. So I'm like, wow. And, and he's just over the last 2 years, he's probably set me up with like 10 different webinars. And not only does he make the cut on the front, he makes the cut on the back too. And I got to tell you, like every time I cut a check out to him, I'm just as happy as could be because I know that money going out caused a lot more to come in and I wouldn't have had it without him. So don't get greedy. It's like a lot of people, they don't want to pay people to do things for them. I say pay everyone to do everything for you as long as it generates positive cash flow. The more people that you can get behind you, the more people talking about you, the more people promoting you and telling others about you, the more money you're going to make and the less effort it's going to take you to do it. Think about how exhausting that would be, especially for somebody that's somewhat introverted. Like I've always been like the shy kid. In school, I wasn't like the outgoing one. I was behind the scenes always, and I still am. It may not seem that way, but it really is. I would far prefer to just, hang out by myself or with a handful of close friends, stuff like that, than go out to a party. That just doesn't excite me at all to go and mingle with a bunch of people. I'll do it on stage. I'll come out and I'll speak for an audience for an hour and then, go back to where I was after that. But seriously, there's a lot of people out there that love that stuff. They love to party. They love to press the flesh. They love to mingle and all that crap. And you can take advantage of them, or, not advantage of them, but you can leverage them, let them. And here's something, talking about taking advantage. When you allow someone to feel like they're taking advantage of you, when they're really not, they'll work their ass off for you. Like I know back in 2010, I did a promo for Ryan Dice, and all I had to do literally was create the training. He promoted it. He sold it. He was out there being my cheerleader, rah-rahing everyone on to buy the stuff. They bought it from him. It was my training. I made it for him. And basically he gave me 30%. It was a 30-70 split. I had all kinds of people telling me I was getting ripped off and he was taking advantage of me and all that stuff. And I was just laughing. I'm like, really? I do nothing and I'm going to get 30% of a shitload of money? Really? Now, if he felt like he was taking advantage of me,
You have him to blame for me being here.
All the better for that. So, but I just told those people, I said, I'm not being taken advantage of. I'm getting a 30% share of something I didn't have before. And I've got somebody that is out in the public spotlight telling everybody how great I am. Who cares if I don't get any money out of it up front? What that has done for me long term over the last 10 or 11 years has been phenomenal. It was worth way more than if I would have got 100% of the whole thing. So don't get greedy. When you have an opportunity to have someone bring you out and promote you and all that, pay them. Even if you have to give them the lion's share of it, it will come back tenfold. So anyway, that's what's going on today. We're doing another one of those webinars. Todd's doing his thing, promoting me and putting me in front of a whole bunch of people that have never heard of me. So,
hey, John.
Yeah, go ahead.
Quick technical question.
Okay.
Is there any way to load SitePop, the app, on an Android phone without going through Google Play Store?
Yes, absolutely. You can go into the devices tab in SitePop, and there's a direct download link for it right there. So what you do is you get on your phone or your Android device and you navigate to it, download it to the device, and then you can either go to your file manager, or a lot of times, like on my Android devices, it asks me if I want to run the program. As soon as you download something, it asks you if you want to run it. You can just click yes, and that will install it. You don't have to go to the App Store. In fact, that's the way everyone has had to do it that's in our beta launch, because we've got several beta apps that are not publicly available yet. It's only to our beta testers. And I believe there's a new one in there for YouTube. And,
I was going to ask you about the, Bing and YouTube. You were talking about that a couple months ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Those should be available on the devices tab. I talked to Chris about that just a couple of days ago, and he said he was going to put them up there. I had been just emailing them out to everybody individually that wanted them, but we decided to put them up in there on the devices tab in the back end of SitePop.
Cool.
So pretty exciting stuff. Ultimately, what we're going to do is, this is what we're striving for, is that one device you could run all 4 projects on. So you wouldn't have to have 1,000 devices now to run all these things. I told Chris it makes sense for one device to be able to run Bing searches, Google searches, Amazon searches, and YouTube searches. So the challenge has been, how do we put 4 project codes into one app? And I think they've just about got that solved now. So ultimately, that's the way it's supposed to be. Like anything else, when you're developing software, it can be a can of worms, because especially what we're doing, it's very complicated what we're doing with SitePop, and we're covering 3 different platforms. We're not only covering Android, we're covering Windows 10 and also the Mac computers, not iPhone. We are not covering iPhone right now because of their decision to block active devices in the background. So that kind of makes it, worthless. And they didn't just do that to us, they did that to everyone. So like, even if you're running Facebook, it can't monitor alerts and stuff in the background because it kills all the background processes. So that would make it, virtually useless for what we need to do with SitePop. So anyway, that's where SitePop is headed rapidly, is to do the same type of search signals that we're doing for Google. It has been so successful on Bing, Amazon, and YouTube.
Now, are you going to be doing any webbies in the near future for the SitePop users?
Yes, absolutely. I probably will do one next week. And I usually do one around a launch. So since we're doing the launch this afternoon, I'm going to be announcing to all the new people that are getting on that we'll do one probably next Friday and or next probably next Thursday actually. So it'll just be a week out. That way people will get in, they'll get used to the program, and then we'll do the training and the Q&A on it. It won't be like it'll be somewhat to start out like a webinar, but it'll be, I'm not going to set it up as a webinar. I'll set it up as a meeting just like this so everybody can interact, everybody can ask questions. I think everybody gets the most out of that type of thing. If it's a webinar, it's basically just me talking, a lecture, and yeah, they can learn a lot from that. But when people are using a software for the first time, a lot of them have questions. And it's interesting when you have new users, if you're, and this is with new clients too, if you're bringing on new clients, there's a whole world of types of people out there. And there's some people that either don't listen or maybe they don't have the ability to hear. But you gotta say the same thing multiple times in multiple ways before they hear it, if they ever hear it. Like I've been going back and forth with somebody on a support ticket, and she has asked the exact same question like 7 or 8 times in a row. Exact same question. And it's like, I'm almost feeling like I'm dealing with a chat bot. Pretty strange. And but yeah, I just don't get it. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know if they're not listening or what.
I've been selling the service for $4.95.
Okay.
So, and I just sold one for $7.95 for only 8 keywords. So
Yeah.
And what I'm doing is I'm just telling them they get X number of primary keywords, and then I'm making up the difference, like up to the 12 with secondary keywords that actually make it look more organic for the other keywords.
Yeah.
Subtle geo variations and different things. Yeah.
Yeah. Now here's something too. If you're doing this commercially and you're selling it as a service like that, with SEO traditionally, more keywords is more money because it's more effect across more keywords. But when you're dealing with site pop, you've got 12 keywords available to you per project. But what happens is the more keywords you add to the project, the less searches each one gets. So you're actually diminishing the effort. So be careful with that of selling more and making it look like more value. It's less value per keyword.
Well, I'm actually, when I sell 4, I sell 4 primary and then 8 secondary keywords. So I'm always doing the 12, but
okay,
I understand what you're saying. So sometimes, if I'm doing an 8, then I'll do 2 devices. If I'm only doing a 4, I'm only do 1 device to start and see if it pushes it over the limit. If it doesn't, then I'll add a second device.
Gotcha. So, yeah. So you got it. I just wanted to make sure that
numbers.
Just want to make sure you understand that, because one of the biggest things when you're working with customers, whether it's SEO or anything, is managing expectations. What they expect to get versus what they seem like they receive can cause issues. So you just want to make sure, that you have conversations. It doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're, SEO is particularly misunderstood. So I've always been very careful about that traditionally when I bring on a new client, that we have a fairly in-depth conversation so they understand, what they really need, what they want, and, and what's going to happen. So setting those expectations and over delivering. I always understate what they're going to get and then over deliver.
One of the problems I had in the beginning was we were getting to page 1 too fast.
Yeah.
So
And then,
that's why I started with only one device and to see how it ramps up. And if it needs some more push, then I can go to the second device. And if it doesn't need it, then yeah, it's okay if it takes 2-3 weeks. I'm telling them it's going to take them 90 days.
sure, perfect.
And then I'm telling them after the 90 days, if they want to keep going, then they could just do a trickle, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And since I'm an agency version, I can, pick the number of,
Mhm.
times it does, and then I'll just put them on a trickle for $97.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I
yeah.
mean, think about it. A service that costs you $5 that you can sell, or $4 that you can sell for $97, that's a pretty damn good deal, especially when it runs on autopilot. I've got a ton of customers out of different, speaking events that I've done that, they're paying $97 a month for the service. They don't know anything about Site Pop itself. They're just paying for the signals to rank their site. They've been paying now I've been doing that for a couple of years. So if you think about that, $100 a month, for 2 years, it adds up. You get a bunch of those and that money adds up. There's a lot more safety. Like, think about economies, ups and downs and stuff going sideways, in real life. If you have more people paying you less money, you'll have less ill effect when the shit goes bad in the world. That's just the way it is. If you've got a couple of customers that are paying you a boatload of money and your entire livelihood revolves around those couple of customers, worst case scenario, one customer, and something goes sideways in the world and it affects that customer, your goose is cooked. I don't ever want to be in a situation where I'm dependent on that one person. Some of you guys have heard me say this before, but a very wise older guy that was kind of one of my mentors when I was growing up, he told me, when I first got in business and I was doing commercial photography, I was going after big customers. I mean, they were paying me a lot of money each one. And he told me about that. He said, you'd be better off having more customers paying you less amount, and you're going to have a better safety net there long term. And at the time I was killing it, so I didn't really pay much attention to him. I was doing what I was doing and doing very well at it. But when I got into the internet business, I could hear his voice telling me that. And man, that has been so true. And the way he described it was, he said, the amount of customers that you have, the amount of people, or the amount of income streams, whatever it is, the amount of sources of revenue that you have is going to equate to appendages on your body. He said, if you only have one and you lose it, that's like losing your head. It's game over. He said, if you've got two, that's like losing a leg or an arm. It's not quite game over, but it's going to mess you up forever. He said, if you've got 10, that's like losing a finger. You lose 1 out of 10. That's like losing a finger. He said, it's going to hurt, but when you wake up tomorrow morning, your life's not going to be all that much different. And he said, if you've got thousands, that's like losing a hair off your head. You don't even notice it. So I thought that was pretty damn good advice. I didn't really take it in at the time when I first heard it. I didn't value it as much as I do today. But looking back, that was some of the most sound advice I think I've ever gotten out of anyone. So when you're looking at your revenue streams, your income, your money generators, more of less is where you want to be. Because the people that are paying you a little bit, a lot can go sideways before that gets damaged. And even this call, this is one of the reasons I do this so cheap. I would rather have, 1,000 people paying me $27 a month or $29 a month than, one person paying me 30 grand a month. Believe it or not, I would much rather have 1,000 of you paying $30 a month than one customer paying me 30 grand a month. It's the same amount of income, but where's my safety if that one person, what if they get hit by a bus? Something completely out of my control can end me. Never do I want to be in a situation like that. And 1,000 people and you lose one, odds are one of us going to get hit by a bus someday. and it'll be sad and all that. Well, and we'll be missed or whatever, but it's not going to really affect much of anybody if we're only talking about a $30 a month loss. And that sounds kind of crappy equating that to losing somebody, but I'm talking about like a revenue stream. So anyway, questions?
John, when you're talking about selling your signals as opposed to selling site pop, what are you referring to? I'm not following you there.
Okay, well, site pop as a software is selling a software as a service. The software as a service is far cheaper than the service of what it's doing. So it's like selling someone the software is like me selling it wholesale. Selling the service of what the software does is like me selling retail. Like let's say a business owner wants to increase their SEO. So what they need these search signals coming into their site. Do I want to sell them the software and knowing they're not going to do it or not going to know how to do it and all that, and it's going to be a pain in my butt? Or do I just want to sell them the service and give them what they really want? They just want it done. And it costs more for the service. There's more margin, there's more profit for me by doing that. And there's less hassle because I'm not in the middle of when they don't do it or they don't know how to do it and all that. So that's search signals is what site pop does. It sends signals out to Google that people are looking for particular things and clicking through to particular sites. What ultimately, I mean, if you break it down to what it really is, it's training Google's artificial intelligence by sending it real user signals. Because that's what.
And them setting up all the telephones in their bedroom, you set them up in your bedroom for them.
Correct. Yeah. I usually, like with my retail customers, I tell them what's going on. I tell them, we've got a network of phones that we rely on to do this. And the bigger the network grows, the more powerful it becomes. And I do request and sometimes actually require them to put the app on their phone. So they're contributing to the network. But then again, I've got some customers, like when you have people that are in things that are regulated, they're really kind of cagey about putting apps and stuff on their devices. Like attorneys, for instance, they don't want any part of your devices running on your apps running on their devices. Some people in the medical industry, they've got HIPAA compliancy and stuff like that. People in the finance world, those type of people, with them, I just offer to do it for them because I know their issues, I know their hesitations, and it's a hidden objection. It's a reason why they're going to say no. And if I want to sidestep that and get them as a customer, I have to eliminate the objection. When I can't eliminate the physical thing, I can just offer to go around it and do something for them that I don't do for everybody. I don't want to do that for everybody, but for them, I'll do it because I know the problem. I know the issue. I wouldn't just openly do that because I don't want to have to buy and manage 1,000 phones. But as it is, I've got over here, I've probably got 40 or 50 of them that I actually run for customers.
So what do you charge for the signals versus charging for the software? I'm still not clear on that aspect of it.
Okay, like for an agency owner, they can buy the software for 50 projects for $197 a month. So that's about $4 a project per month. I sell those as a retail at $97 a month. So the markup from $4 to 97, there's not a lot of industries that give you that kind of markup on something. That's a really good markup. Now, the gentleman that spoke just a little earlier, he said he's charging like $4.97 for the same thing. There's no set price. I mean, nobody knows what these signals are worth. They're worth, just like anything else, it's worth what someone will pay you for it. I know
And
SEO
I
guys.
do the phones myself. I never give them the phone. So all they get is
Yeah.
the service, and I
Okay.
take care of everything else.
Yeah, yeah. And the phones, you know, you can buy these phones at Walmart or Target for under $30 a piece. And you don't have to have cell service for them. You can just hook them up to Wi-Fi. So there's no ongoing cost. The only ongoing cost is, you know, you probably got to replace the battery every couple of years, or it's cheaper at that price just to throw the phone away and get a new one. It's not even worth messing with changing a battery at that price. But
Rotate your ISPs or something so it doesn't look like all these signals are coming from all the same person.
well, they don't anyway. You were talking about tens of thousands of phones in the network, and they're all randomly called upon to run a signal for any given website. So even though I've got, you know, 40 or 50 of them sitting here for different customers, the signals that are going out for those customers aren't necessarily coming off of my devices. They're coming off all the devices in the network randomly. So the idea that there's 40 or 50 different devices connected to one IP address, believe it or not, is pretty natural. If you look at shared office space, how many different computer users are in a building on the same IP in a shared office space? There could be hundreds, if not thousands. One of the things that Google will do, if it sees a bunch of search requests coming from any particular IP, what it's going to do, it's going to put up a warning message that said there's an unusual amount of activity from this IP, and we just want to know if it's real. So it's almost like a CAPTCHA. You have to click the thing or maybe answer a question to verify that you're a real human. So it knows it's not a robot. It doesn't want robots hitting it from any one IP, but it does not care if there's 1,000 people, real people on the same IP. It knows that's natural. It just wants to verify it. So like when I first put my network up here at my office, you know, 40 or 50 phones all running search signals, even though it's only doing about, you know, 15 to 20 signals a day, that adds up when you're talking 50 users. So I started getting these things like on my phone. When I would run a search, it would pop that window up. After a couple of weeks of me authorizing it, saying, yes, I'm a human. Yes, I'm a human. I haven't gotten one of those notices now in a long time. So it realized, okay, that's a trusted source, let her rip. So
you had to monitor it for a couple of weeks to make sure that it was allowing you to do those searches.
yeah, and basically I was doing it on my own devices anyway. Like when I would go onto my computer's on the same IP as all the phones. So when I'd go onto my computer, I'd run a Google search just for something I wanted, and it popped that window up. I could just verify it right there.
Don't you have a service that rotates the IP every so often on a high frequency basis? I thought I heard.
There are IP rotators, there are VPN networks, all that stuff. Google knows all that stuff. Google knows those IPs. They monitor every source of traffic on the planet. So it really doesn't help you. That stuff, you know, it depends on what you're doing, but we're trying to send real actual search signals. So the less we do to try and manipulate what's happening with the real phones, the better off we are. We don't need to hide in doing what we're doing. It's real phones running real searches. So the more the merrier. The more we can get, the better off we look. The bigger the network gets, the more it just creates its own cloud cover. But if you think about it, what we're doing is we're randomly calling up one of the devices in our network. We're telling it, go to Google and run this search phrase, type it in like a human would, and then look at the search results and look for this domain. It'll scroll through till it finds it, it clicks through, and then it spends time on the site, just like a real user would. So we're just emulating what's supposed to be happening to create a great user experience. And the more of those that happens with Google, the more it realizes this site, people like this site. So Google will then start rising it to the top, sending its traffic to it. And then it's like a snowball effect. It's kind of like the chicken and the egg. How do you get an egg without a chicken? Well, with SitePop, we're forcing the egg out of the chicken. So we're creating the first egg to create more chickens. And that's really what's happening. And in search, when you get search cooking, people start clicking from Google, going to your site, real users. And then the snowball effect takes place. The more people it sends, the better signals happen, and the more it wants to send. Google has an incredible amount of FOMO. It has an intense fear of missing out. If something good is out there, it wants to send its traffic to it because it's good. So the way to do that is we start that process by sending our own search signals there to show Google that your stuff is good. Once it sees that, it wants to get in on it. It wants to start sending its own traffic there. The problem is, if you have a crappy site, if you've got poor content, if you don't have a good user experience, what's going to happen is you started the snowball inside of hell. The snowball ain't going to last very long. The snowball is going to melt as fast as it's growing. So you can be sending the good signals here and then defeating it with a bad user experience from the real users. So that's why, SEO has really shifted. It's shifted from an algorithmic thing to a user experience thing. Google knows now what a good user experience looks like. So SitePop is meant to fake that in the beginning to get the snowball going. But if you can't perpetuate that as it goes, you're going to just be shooting yourself in the foot. SEO is not going to work out very well for you if you have a poor user experience. Even if you can get the ball started, the ball will not continue to roll. Google will stop it dead in its tracks. Google's not going to send traffic to a site that's garbage. It's not going to send traffic to a site people don't like. If people bounce off the site, you're only going to get so many chances at that. And then they're going to stop sending traffic. If you've got 500 signals a month sending traffic that says it's good, and then Google sends, 1,000, and now you've got 1,000 bad ones and 500 good ones, what do you think's going to happen? They're not going to want to send you any more. They're just going to want to restrict you to the ones you had. And that's as far as you're going to go. A site without real traffic isn't really going to do you any good. So the fake it till you make it is only to get the ball rolling. Yeah, it can, on a long-term effect, you can manipulate what you rank for. And that's the whole key. Start using the signals that you have a chance to rank for. I call those traction keywords. It's keywords that you already rank on the second page or the third page. You just haven't got to the first page to actually get any traffic yet. Start there. Let SitePop start the snowball, push those keywords up, start getting you some traffic. And then as that happens, it will pull more harder, more difficult, better quality keywords up. And now you'll have traction on them. Then you can push those up. And again, you can perpetuate the size of the snowball by doing that long term. You can have you can have an avalanche. If you do it right, long term, you can create an SEO avalanche. I've done this, you know, for 20 years. It used to be a lot easier because you didn't have to deal with the users. You know, you could totally fake the whole thing. And, you know, back then it was a piece of cake. It was like taking candy from a baby. You know, my clients made so much money off of SEO. They didn't have to be good at sales. I could send them so much volume of users that, you know, you've heard the term, even a blind squirrel gets a nut. Well, they could even get sales because they had so many opportunities. But, you know, things have changed radically since those days. It's not like that anymore. Google's not just going to send you an avalanche of traffic unless you proved you deserve it. And done that over a long period of time. So,
well, John, if you could give us a top 10 list or a top 5 at a blank, well, what do they want that really rings the bell?
for Google, for like search engines, we kind of lost you there, Woody. I'm gonna assume you're talking about for search engines, like a top 10 type of list. Well, the biggest thing,
Exactly.
yeah, the biggest thing is how people interact with your site. So the number one thing I would do is I would focus on the title of your pages. And the number two thing is the description of your pages. And the reason I'm putting those at the top of the list is that's going to be the thing that gets you the click through. That's the first thing that's going to be important, is Google seeing people actually clicking on your listings when they do put you on the first page. And that's all you have really to effectively increase your click-through ratio is your title and your description. That's where, you know, it's like I've told people for many, many years, watch broadcast TV between like 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. and watch the news trailers. They're really good at headlines to hook you and get you to click. Their click is you watching the 11 o'clock news. They're going to try and get you to stay up late to watch something that is virtually worthless. And they do it really well. You can learn a lot from how they do that as far as how you create your headlines and create compelling descriptions and get somebody to want to do something. If you do that well, what will happen is you will get the most clicks, even if you're not in the top slot. When the search engine results come up, usually you see the top 3 above the fold once you get past the ads and all that crap. But the top 3, you know, that's what kind of fits on the page when you scroll down. The first 3 that you see, what they're going to click on is they're going to click on the one that grabs their attention. Remember with ACT, the first thing, grab attention. That's the one they're going to click. The site that gets the most clicks is going to move to the top. It's like a constant ongoing split test inside of Google or any search engine for that matter. It's a constant split test. So if you show up in the top 3 and you get more clicks, you're going to the top. If you show up in the number 10 position and more people are clicking on you than the ones in the top 3, guess what's going to happen? You're going to rise to the top because of that. That's called a signal. That's a search signal to Google. Google's artificial intelligence is watching and it's learning. It's learning who has the best content. And the first way for you to prove that is the click. So title and description is the way you get that click. The second,
or what shows up on the Google search. That's the blue
Yeah.
copy in the Google search is your title and your description, right?
Yep, the blue underline, that's your title, and then the chunk right below it is your description. So those are key factors for you to create the snowball. Now, the second thing is once they click, what happens? You need to start reducing your bounce rate. And the way you reduce your bounce rate is what they click to make sure it's valuable. Make sure that you're giving them a call to action to click deeper in the site, because if you don't tell them what to do, chances are they're going to hit the back button, and that's a bounce. So people do what they're told. Believe it or not, we love to be told what to do because it gives us a certain amount of certainty. You know, if you're not told what to do, you're not sure what to do. And if that's the case, one of your options is hit the back button. So it's just like you increased your odds of creating a bad user experience by not having a call to action. So have call to action on the site. You know, that would be number 3 in the list. And then, you know, number 4 is content, having content that draws them in. Again, telling them what to do. Video content is great, but not just because it's video. People love to watch good video. They won't watch garbage video. Don't mistake me for the fact that just because it's video, it's good. It's not what I'm saying. You have to do all the things that you do that work in the real world in your videos. Like anybody that is trained as a speaker, one of the first things that you're trained is to seed them with what's coming so they continue to listen. You don't want them tuning out. If they tune out on your video on your page, they're going to hit the back button. They're going somewhere else. They're done. It's a bad signal. So tell them what's coming. Go, hey, stick to the end of the video because I'm going to give you a tidbit that's going to change your life. You know,
yeah, they want to know exactly what's in it for them to stick it through.
Yeah.
Even if it's exciting, even if you're a good speaker, it doesn't matter. It's all about the audience and what are they going to get out of it, and is it something that's usable for them?
Yeah, exactly. It's like you've got to use all those principles and concepts that work in the real world. If they work for you on stage, I guarantee you they're going to work in a video. You know, if they work for you on a used car lot, they're going to work in a video. Doesn't matter where they work. Take stuff that works in the real world and digitize it. That's the kind of stuff that's going to work on your site. You know, in many more of the next things in line in the top 10 list would be all related to quality content on your site, giving them what they want. Lead magnets, get them to opt in on your lists, because one of the things Google looks at is how many times a person will revisit your site. The best way I know to get someone to revisit your site is a link in an email. If you don't have an opt-in, you're not going to get them on your email list, and you've missed that opportunity. The more times people will click an external link coming to your site, Google sees that too. They're going to count that as a positive user experience. So opt-ins, telling them what to do, telling them what they're going to get. You know, the whole Frank Kern made this saying famous. You know, it's here's what I've got. Here's what it's going to do for you. Here's what I want you to do next.
Hey, John, something you just said made me think about how many times we have in the past sent out an email with our signature block. And the change that I made now that we're on Kartra is I took my calendar link and put it as part of my signature link, or that signature block. And it says time with Randy. So it's real clear that it's a calendar link. And if you want to connect, there's the opportunity right there in the email. And I've had people click on it and spend 30 minutes in a consult just doing that. And I'm new at this. But the other thing is, every giveaway, every free little document, PDF document that I use as a giveaway, I put a help button at the end of it. And the help button has a link, and it goes right to my calendar. So all the programs that I have in calendar show up in the consult, the free, have a coffee with Randy, and also the programs that I offer the coaching programs, and so boot camp just got added in there. But there's no date yet for that because I haven't figured that out yet. But the point is, if they go to the calendar, they can see everything you offer, or at
Mhm.
least a good portion of what you offer.
Yeah, yeah.
John, is that counting towards his Google traffic?
Yeah, anytime you do anything online, Google sees it because they manage safe web browsing. So
I mean, so like
anything.
my Kartra pages, that's contributing to my Google experience. That's my question.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in Kartra, what you want to make sure you do is you want to make sure that you run your Kartra pages on a subdomain of your domain so it attaches the two.
Okay, well, I don't know what that means.
Well, in Kartra, you can have your page be, yourname.kartra.com, or you can go in and you can create a custom subdomain.
Oh, I think we did that. So they got to be subdomains.
Yeah. So like with mine, it's
Okay.
dominator.internetdominator.com is where all my pages of Kartra live.
Right.
So
I
Google
think
sees that.
you helped set me up with one of those once.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so I got to do
Anybody,
that with all of my Kartra pages.
yeah. So when you create a page in Kartra, make sure that you publish it on your domain, not just on the Kartra page.
So when they go to the Kartra page, because my Kartra thing is called like S Corp's work, and
Yeah.
that's what comes up. We don't want that, right? We want a subdomain of Bedrock Business Builders.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the other thing. If you've got a bunch of websites, you're diluting your experience with Google. You're sending your traffic a bunch of different places, and Google just sees that as well. That's a bunch of places getting a little bit of traffic. Why should I care? If you consolidate and you start sending all of your traffic to one domain or subdomains of that domain, that's when Google starts paying attention. They're like, oh, this thing's getting some activity. It's getting some attention. I should give it mine.
With your YouTube channel or videos, is that something you can connect through Kartra, through your system that Google will also see?
Yes, two different ways. You can embed your Kartra, or you can embed your YouTube videos right into a Kartra page. They attach that to the page that it's on. So if your Kartra page is a subdomain of your page and you have a YouTube video embedded on it, that makes the connection. You can further the connection by when you create the YouTube video itself, you put the URL in the description.
Okay.
And now you've created a link. And that's what I was going to get to next. The next most important factor after you've got your user experience dialed in is now making your site look popular from external sources. Traffic is one thing. Traffic is a good thing to send signals. Also, links. Links has been like a really important thing in SEO for many, many years. Now, links has changed. The linking, the algorithm for why a link is important has changed just as much as why the algorithm for what about content has changed. The thing with linking is Google is not looking anymore at just how many links come in. It's looking at where they come from and who's interacting with them. So if you're just getting a bunch of links on a bunch of random crap that nobody's on and nobody's going to, you're kind of defeating the purpose. You're doing a lot of work and not getting much effort out of it. What you want to do is you want to put high quality content out on other websites with a link back to you for more information. That's the type of link building that you should be doing. You should be looking for sites that have people on them that would be interested in your information, provide good content, and give them a way to get more by clicking over to your site. This includes social media. Don't put all of your stuff on social media trying to push people to social media to learn about you. Use social media only for your teaser content. You know, if you're going to post content to social media, don't blow your whole wad on it. Put the best stuff, the best hooks and catchers, and then tell them where to go to get the rest of it. Get them off of social media, get them into your mousetrap. You know, social media does not make a good mousetrap because there's so much stuff. There's so many distractions. There's so many things pulling you in multiple directions. It's like a circus. You know, you walk through a circus or a fair or a carnival, and you got all the carny clowns trying to grab your attention, getting you into their booth to take your money. That's what's happening in social media. You don't want that. You want to be the only circus clown trying to take their money. The only way you can do that is to get them out of that circus and get them into yours. So lead them out of social media. Don't send them to it.
So the social media should all have links back to your site, is what you're saying.
Yes, yes. Like this is a mistake I see. This is a mistake I see in most web developers. What they want to do is they want to put your social media icons in your header. That is the most stupid thing I've ever heard of. Why would you get someone onto your website where you want them and then send them off to a social media site? Why? Can anyone give me a logistical reason why you would do that? Other than it looks pretty bells and whistles. That's the difference between a web designer, web developer, and a marketer. A marketer would never do that. But I see web designers do it all day long.
The links in from your social media, but not links out from your site to your social media.
Yeah. Now, the only reason why you need social media links on your website is for credibility, verification, that type of stuff. They do not belong in the header. Put them either in the footer or bury them on an About Us page or a contact page or something like that. But don't lead off with them. That's a bad idea. You don't want people leaving your site. You spend all this time and money and energy and effort to get them there. Why do you want to push them away? I guarantee you your site is more effective than your social media.
So I got a quick question, John. When let's just say go back to your old basic webinar thing. Let's say one of your strategies is using webinars and you've got this headline that you want to grab their attention with, like you said, late night news gave you an idea, so you got this headline. So is what you're saying is you use the headline in social media, but then the link is there to go to the page that you prepared in Kartra for the webinar, which walks them through what they're going to get, the benefits, the transformation, and all that. That's where the pretty stuff goes. If they like the hook and they click the link, then that takes them to that page. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. The faster you can pull them off of the social media and get them onto a landing page where there's no other options to do other than take the call to action, the better off your conversion will be. Okay. So think about it as you know, you're collecting water. Your website's a bucket, and a link out to a social media is a hole in the bucket. You're losing water. You want to plug all the holes and have all the water coming into your bucket, not going out of it. And when you use social media as your bucket, think about how many holes there are on it because of all the distractions, all the people competing. There's advertisers that pay to suck water out of your bucket. You know, the only place where you can eliminate that is on your site. That's truly your bucket. You have control. You don't have any control over any social media property. They're all in it to make money by selling ads and doing everything they can to pull water out of your bucket. So, you know, just from a strategic standpoint, that is going to make the most sense. When you think about it, 99% of success is common sense. But the thing is, nobody thinks about it. I mean, Would you have thought of that as common sense, what I just said about the whole social media thing?
Yes.
Everybody is like touting social media. Get everybody on your social media pages. Push them all over there. And all I can say to that is no. Pull them out of social media. Don't send people to it.
John, I have a question.
Okay.
By the way, I'm waiting to get the design that I've had done like in November from the new web design that I've had done and paid for out of the designer. And once I have that, I'm going to get it to you.
Okay.
Use site build. In the meantime, thank you so much for all these tips of what's important to get people on your site. But what I want to ask is with regards to keyword research and keywords with regards to site pop.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us a little bit about the balance of, I've done research, and so I know there's two parts of it. The one is how many people are searching for a particular keyword,
Mm-hmm.
and the other part is the difficulty of it. And
Sure.
kind of the balance between that, but with regards to keywords we use in site pop. And I want to give you an example. Say for what I do, I always thought to put, say, logo shirts, right? That's what I would think is a good description of one of the things that I do, right? So polo shirts, but that does not have a lot of people searching for that. What I found in that is, for instance, to not use plural, like to say custom shirt. That has many, many, many more people searching for it. So
Well, the other thing, like with keyword research, what most everybody does with keyword research is they use what's easily accessible to do their keyword research. And what's easily accessible is what keywords are being searched for and what the volume of the keyword is. But there's another factor that's even more important and nobody pays attention to it. And I have made a tremendous amount of money for my clients by paying attention to this factor that you can't get out of Google. And it's the factor of what's that keyword worth to you. Like if that keyword is worth a lot of money, it doesn't matter how many people are searching for it. And the example that I use there is water park construction. There's not a lot of people searching for water park construction. Like when I started doing water park SEO, sometimes there was one person searching for water park construction. Now the traditional SEO keyword research would eliminate that before you even got to see it. Their criteria, you wouldn't even know there was one person looking. But that one person looking to develop a water park is worth $100 million. Is it worth competing to get that person? Is that a good keyword, even though there's only one person searching for it? Hell yeah, it is. So you got to look at what the keyword is worth to you, to your business. And, that is a really important factor. Search volume, it's a factor, but it pales in comparison to what that keyword might be worth to you. Like if you sell a particular product that's really super high dollar, high profit, and there's not very many people looking for it, who cares? You don't want to miss any of those sales opportunities. So again,
how do I use the keyword research then to my advantage?
Well, you use the tools to gather the data, but there's no substitution for you and your intellect and your common sense to be looking through those keywords and deciding.
Okay, so the highest volume ones is not the way particularly to go.
It's only one factor. I mean, if the more people, the better, obviously. But if you're only basing it on those number factors, you're missing the piece that might win the game. Nothing will replace what you know about your market. Nothing will replace your intellect and your intelligence when it comes to winning a conversion game. When you're basically, the business is like a battlefield. You don't need to have the best weapons if you've got, the most technology. That technology is in your head. Use everything that you know to your advantage. And you will beat out other people doing keyword research by the book, because the book only take you so far. A book can tell you things, but it can never substitute, the real deal.
Yeah.
Your interpretation of the battlefield. So, all right, guys, unless there's anything else, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up and get ready for my webinar coming up.
Hey, John, one quick question. When you said go to other sites and put high quality content on those sites with a link back to you, what kinds of sites are you talking about?
Any site that has your customers on it. Now, obviously, it's a competitor's not going to put you on there, but any site that is complementary to what you do, like for instance, if you were selling houses, a complementary site might be a moving company. Because the first thing you're going to need when you buy a house is you're going to need a mover to move you in, right? Or a landscaper giving tips to new homeowners, how to beautify your home. Or if you're going to sell your home, landscaper, hey, learn how to put $2,000 in and get 10,000 out by putting some cheap bushes in.
So are you saying you have to actually contact them in order to put stuff on their site?
Yeah. If you contacted a realtor and you told them, hey, I can give you a hot tip if you put it on your site and your people are going to eat this up like hotcakes, what do you think they're going to tell you? No, go pack stand.
Got it. Okay.
You're going to take the freebie and put it on their site and be happy as hell about it. You helped them out.
Site thing.
So,
Like we should be with a big company. Hey, I have a Kartra question.
okay.
I dropped out of Kartra. Weren't ready for it, but now we're winding up, getting ready to go back to it, and they gave me a special offer, 50% off, and now I get it. No, it's full price. It's 50% if you stay 6 months. Does that sound familiar or right? Or
Oh yeah, they do all kinds of special offers to re-engage, customers that they had lost. It's a good thing. It's also a good thing for you guys to learn from too, ways to get customers back. You give them special offers. If they drop out, give them a special offer to come and re-engage, reignite.
they want you to pay full price for 6 months, then they give you the offer. That's really weird.
Well, yeah, no, that's a strategy.
Yeah. Anyway, well, we're engaged with them, and we'll be getting on sooner or later.
All right.
When our website. All right.
Sounds good. All right, everybody. Well, have a great rest of the week, and we'll be back on regular time next week. I'll tell you how the webinar went, and hopefully we will kill it today. All right, everybody, have a great time, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, John.